On March 31st, 2024, my under eyes looked like this. My eyes must have aged 10 years in that 1 year. It was crazy. This skin is so delicate. It's usually the first place that aging shows up. And for me, it really, really did. So I made a promise to myself I was gonna take better care of my under eye area, not just cover it with makeup, which is what I was doing before, but I was actually gonna try to improve it, or at the very least, slow it down. Today I'm sharing 8 things I've done to reverse age my under eyes. Some things are simple and affordable, others are more of an investment, but I'll walk you through it all. There's no gatekeeping. Let's go. Before we get started, I just want to say something really quick. Having texture under your eyes, having lines under your eyes is all extremely natural and expected and not a negative or a bad thing. That skin is super thin, we smile, we emote. So having lines is not something you should feel ashamed of or feel like you need to change. I really wanted to improve mine because I'm still under 40, so I know it's going to accelerate more when I hit perimenopause or menopause in my 40s. I'm turning 40 very shortly. That was reason number 1. Reason number 2 is because I am a makeup artist. I have such a love and passion for makeup, and makeup sits more easily around the eyes when it's a little bit smoother. But I by no means think that lines under the eyes are unattractive or ugly or they need to be fixed. I just wanted to make sure to say that. We are not about shaming aging here on this channel. We are really about celebrating it. And if we can get together and help each other out and learn about these little tips and tricks and easy fun things that you can add into your routine, that's just going to improve certain things for you or help your makeup sit a little bit better, then I am happy to share that. The first thing that I've been really consistent with, I never skip a treatment, is my Nira Pro Plus at-home laser. If you've been watching lately, you've probably heard me mention it several times. I even talked about it in my most recent live stream with Penn Smith Skincare, which was all about at-home beauty devices. If you haven't watched that, you should catch it next, because if you're curious about the at-home device world, you'll learn a lot on that live stream. But the reason I mentioned it in that live stream is because I'm genuinely obsessed. It is hands down one of my favorite at-home devices right now, and I have all of them. So that says a lot, right? Just to be totally transparent, this part of the video is sponsored by Nira, but I only agreed to work with them because I'd already been using this device for a long time and seeing huge differences. I wouldn't be sharing it if I didn't fully believe in it. So what does it actually do? This is a non-fractional laser that uses targeted heat to gently stimulate collagen production. What's amazing is that it's completely non-invasive. So there's no peeling, no redness, no downtime. And for me, it's been one of the most effective tools for smoothing and firming the skin under my eyes. It only takes 2 minutes to do your entire treatment, and you can treat your whole face with it, which is fantastic. Even when my Botox completely wears off now, and we'll talk more about Botox later in this video, I've still seen a real softening of the lines and more firmness around my eyes. Something else I want to mention is that this is a great device to use in the summer because it doesn't make your skin more sun sensitive like a lot of the other treatments do. Of course, you still need to be super diligent with your SPF, but this device is super gentle. It's safe for all skin types, and it's just really easy to work into your routine. I travel a lot in the summer with my kids. I always bring it with me because it's light to carry. You don't have to plug it in. I just make sure it's fully charged before I leave. It's a quick treatment to do when you're on vacation or when you're home. Some of you have also asked me if you need to use special skincare with it. Nira does have a serum, but you can use this with your favorite skincare. You don't have to overhaul everything, which is really overwhelming and expensive. This just layers in as a smart little upgrade to what you're already doing. It's definitely an investment, there's no doubt about it, but if you're looking for a real collagen boost without going in office, or if you want to support your in-office treatments with something at home, honestly, it's great. It's like my magic wand. The second thing I've done is regularly use microneedling under eye patches. I have never done professional in-clinic microneedling. You can do that as well under the eyes. I probably will one day in the near future. But for now, I've been sticking to at-home versions, and I've noticed some great improvement, and it's like kind of instant, which is amazing. So if you're not familiar with how it works, microneedling uses super fine needles to create tiny controlled injuries in the skin. Those micro injuries trigger your skin to repair itself, which then boosts collagen and elastin production production, helping to smooth and firm the skin. Microneedling also makes your skincare more effective because it creates pathways that let ingredients like hyaluronic acid, for example, absorb deeper into the skin. The patches I've used most consistently are from this brand, Skyn Iceland. I've tried a bunch of different ones, but I really like Skyn Iceland. You can either use them for 1 to 2 hours, or you can wear them overnight, which is what I do. I've only ever just worn them overnight. I find them really comfortable to sleep with. I tend to save these for the nights before filming, the night before a special event, or when my under eyes are looking especially crepey or dehydrated. They're obviously not a miracle, right? It's important to be realistic about that. All of these things are subtle, cumulative changes, but they have made a noticeable difference for me. That's why I save them for the night before I film anything. The next one's actually pretty similar to the Nira, but instead of being something I do at home, this is an in-office treatment and it's called Tempsure Envi. I've had this treatment done 4 times now and it's made enough of a difference that I wanted to include it in this video. Tempsure works in a really similar way to the Nira. It uses heat to stimulate collagen production and to tighten the skin. But instead of using laser energy, which is what the Nira uses, it actually uses radio frequency. The treatment itself is super, super gentle. It doesn't hurt at all. It honestly just feels like a hot stone massage on your eyes. It's really relaxing. It's non-invasive. And just like the Nira, it's actually safe for all skin types. It doesn't make your skin more sun sensitive, which means it's something you can do any time of the year. And what I love the most about it is that I can target exactly what I'm dealing with, which is my under eyes. I do my whole face because I think beauty is a holistic thing. You can't only spot treat something and improve one thing and then have the other things not be improved. Like that looks odd. It's not like puzzle piece of things, but I do like that there's a special bit on the machine that focuses specifically on the upper, like on the eyelid and on the under eye. This one again is an investment. It does require going into the clinic, so it's not gonna be for everyone. But if you're open to in-office options, you're looking for something that supports collagen without jumping straight into injectables or microneedling that might have a little downtime, Tempsure is a great option to know about, especially if you've already been using something like the Nira and you want to build on those results. Next, let's talk about Tretinoin, because this has been one of the most impactful ingredients in my overall routine, including the under eye area. Now, I know a lot of people are nervous about using Tret under the eyes, and I totally get it. The skin there is thinner, more sensitive. The last thing you wanna do is overdo it and end up dry or irritated. But for me, once I got past that adjustment period and I figured out how to use it properly, it made a big difference in the texture and firmness of that area. So let's just rewind for a second. For those of you who don't know, Tretinoin is a prescription strength retinoid, and it works by speeding up cell turnover and stimulating collagen. So it not only helps smooth fine lines, but also improves tone and texture over time. It's one of the most studied and effective ingredients we have for visible signs of aging. That being said, a little goes a very long way, especially under the eyes. I don't apply it all the way up to the lash line. I dot a very small amount of it on my orbital bone. I gently pat it in, and then I load it up with moisturizer on top. If you're more sensitive or dry than I am, I'm not sensitive and I have oily skin. So if you're the opposite of me and you're still maybe even in the adjustment phase, you can do a Tret sandwich where you do moisturizer, Tretinoin, moisturizer. Another thing you can do if you cannot tolerate Tretinoin or you have a hard time getting a prescription for it is get an eye cream with a retinol in it. This is how I started. I actually started using this guy, the Alumier Retinol Eye Gel first. I used this for a long time and that helped me adjust a lot. And then when I upgraded to a Tretinoin prescription, it really wasn't so shocking to my skin. The key with retinol is patience and consistency. Like all of these things, you're not gonna wake up the next day and look dramatically different, but over the course of months and even years, you will see a noticeable improvement in the crepey texture and the overall smoothness of your skin and of your under eyes. If you're curious, but you're just hesitant, talk to your dermatologist, especially if you've never used Tretinoin before. Once your skin adjusts, it can be such a powerful part of your routine. And for me, it's been one of the most effective long-term tools for keeping the under eye area looking really healthy and strong. Now, everything I've talked about so far helps to build collagen, but what preserves it? You know the answer to this already, and it is sunscreen. I know this might seem like an obvious one. Don't skip ahead, okay? Because honestly, it's one of the most important and often overlooked things you can do for the under eye area. The skin under our eyes is thinner and more delicate than anywhere else on the face, and it's one of the first places to show sun damage. UV exposure breaks down collagen. It weakens elasticity. It accelerates fine lines and wrinkles. So protecting that area daily is non-negotiable if you're trying to prevent premature aging or slow it down, or what I was trying to do, which was reverse it. I was a sun bunny as much as the next person, okay? I'm Brazilian. I worshiped the sun. And now you will not find me even sitting beside a window without sunscreen on. One product that I love for this is this guy, the Colorscience Total 3-in-1 Renewal Therapy. This is specifically designed for the under eye area, so it is safe, it doesn't sting. It actually has a bit of a peachy tint to help brighten up darkness, which is a really nice bonus. It's kind of a hybrid between skincare and makeup. You know those products like primer, skincare, and makeup hybrid products? This is what this is. It's got SPF 35, it hydrates, color corrects, and even has ingredients that help support the skin long term. I'll often use it in place of concealer even on minimal makeup days, or if I'm going for a run outside, you know. It does definitely brighten, and you can see that from these clips that I shot in natural light, no ring light. With that said though, of course you can use any sunscreen that you already have. You certainly don't have to buy this. But what I want you to take away from this part of the video is that sun protection has to include the eye area. It doesn't have to be fancy like this, like it's so fancy and expensive, you know, it doesn't have to be like Colorscience, but it does have to be daily. If you're doing everything else right and still skipping this step, you're just undoing all of the work. Now let's talk about something a little bit more advanced, and that's Botox under the eyes. Now, this isn't for everyone, but it is something that I've personally tried and I did find very helpful, and I think it'd be inauthentic of me to share these tips with you and just omit the fact that I've had Botox around my eyes. That would be very inauthentic. So I do want to share this at the risk of knowing that a lot of people are very much against this, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate comments for it. But my authenticity is more important to me than the hate comments I'll likely read about this tomorrow. So most people think of Botox for forehead lines or crow's feet, but a small amount can actually be placed directly under the eyes to help soften fine lines and prevent excessive creasing when you smile or squint. And you can see that so much of that creasing is gone now because of the Botox. The key here is using a very conservative dose. The under eye area is incredibly delicate, and too much product can affect muscle movement in a way that feels unnatural or even cause puffiness, which then takes one problem and makes it another problem, right? But if you are in the right hands with the right injector, my nurse practitioner, Jessica, who is the owner of her clinic, Bonita Medical Aesthetics, she is amazing. And the most subtle treatment that she does on me makes a very, very real difference. And it will also make a very real difference for you if you are like me and you just find that your concealer settles into all those tiny little fine lines no matter what you do. Last time I got it done, I actually asked her if I could record the appointment because I really wanted you guys to hear what Jess had to say about this treatment. So you can watch it right now.
So when we do the Botox under the eyes, like how do you do that and how do you ensure that it's safe?
So we're actually not treating the muscle in that case. We're just treating more so of the skin, just to kind of give it that glass sort of look.
Okay.
So it's very superficial. So instead of going into a muscle, what we're doing is we're actually treating the skin. So we're just going in very superficial, and it's also diluted differently.
Yes.
A little more saline so that it disperses a bit more. So it's a very small amount that's being dispersed in a larger area, but very superficially. And that's why you've probably noticed that that's one of the areas that kind of goes away quicker than other spots. It's because of that very reason. It's just a small amount to give it that glass skin sort of appearance.
Because it makes a huge difference. Like the biggest difference of anything else.
Yeah.
It almost like takes them all away.
Well, that's just it. And because there's a little more saline, it spreads a bit more. So you get that sort of diffuse approach, which is really nice.
I was looking online and there were some people saying like, don't ever Botox under here, because then what happens is when you smile, it's like this. And I'm like, I don't get that when I do it.
So that's why, because we go superficial. So if we were to inject deeper and actually grab the muscles, so when people get their crow's feet done, if they get it extended underneath the eye, and part of the muscle, where the muscles insert right about here. And so what happens when you're smiling, so the muscles that are responsible for assisting with that big smile, if they absorb the product, then they're going to relax, just like the forehead muscles and all the other muscles that we inject, same mechanism of action.
Right.
But that's not what we're trying to treat there, right? So that's why we go a little deeper, of course, till about here, because of course we want to get that orbicularis oculi muscle that is, you know, really depressing down when you're smiling and sort of squinting. And that's where we get those crow's feet. So of course we treat it a little deeper there, but that's not what we're trying to do underneath the eye. So that it's exactly what happens is either one of two things. One is that the muscle is innervated, so then when you're smiling, your smile looks different. Or two, the lymphatic drainage area in here. So there's a bunch of little lymph nodes that actually pull back and pull the fluid out of your face. That's why sometimes you wake up with puffy eyes, then as the day goes on, that goes away. That whole system that's right there, if you end up injecting Botox, what happens is it doesn't have that same mechanism of action. And so then you end up getting puffiness underneath the eye, which compounds the problem and then makes you look more aged, more tired, and so forth. And again, it's because the injection's too deep. So you want a very superficial, it's a highly skilled, like very small, superficial amount that you're putting in there. You don't want to go deep because otherwise you could have either happen, right?
So there you go. Of course, this is completely 100% optional, but I always say that makeup can only do so much, right? Makeup isn't a magic wand. It can only do so much. Sometimes pairing it with the right in-office treatment and the right at-home maintenance can take your results really to the next level. So speaking of makeup, my favorite thing ever, let's pivot into makeup for a second, because one of the biggest game changers for me over the past couple of years when it comes to under eye makeup was realizing this one thing, and that is that using heavy under eye creams before concealer is actually making things look worse, not better. Shocking. I know. It's a very common misconception that the more moisture under the eyes, the better, because the under eyes are dry and we need to keep them hydrated. And slapping on something hydrating under concealer is gonna do just that. That's not what it does. It's actually the opposite. The heavier the moisturizer, the more the concealer creases. And the more it creases, the more it draws attention to fine lines and texture. These days, I still use rich eye creams at night, especially over my Tretinoin. But in the mornings, I've completely changed my approach. Instead of priming with a thick cream, I now use a hydrating toner. Believe it or not, this tip actually came from my friend Nikki LaRose, and it's been a total game changer. If you want to know which toner I've been using that's been working well for me, it's the HaruHaru Wonder Black Rice Hyaluronic Toner. This one gives me just the right amount of hydration and plumpness without that slippery, greasy feeling. But of course, you can use any hydrating toner that you have and that you love. Just make sure it is a hydrating toner, okay? Not one that's like for clearing blackheads or whatever. There are different types of toners for different things. You definitely want to get one that is hydrating. My under eye morning routine now is cleanse, tone, let it absorb, sunscreen, let it absorb, then concealer, and then powder. And that brings me to tip number 8, which is choosing the right powder to set concealer with. There are powders that will make your concealer look flawless and powders that will make you look 10 years older instantly. But there's so many types of powders out there, right? There's finishing powders, setting powders, pressed powders, powder foundations, luminous powders, matte powders, and of every powder category, there's like a million brands that make each one. I easily have 30 different powders in my makeup kit. So how the heck are you supposed to know which one to pick? Trust me, I get it. Let me break it down for you. So what you want for under the eyes is a translucent, loose powder. You want something that's very finely milled that will set your concealer so it doesn't crease without adding heaviness or exaggerating texture. Pressed powders specifically they're too dense. They'll make fine lines look more pronounced and more exaggerated. So stick to translucent loose powders, okay? With that said though, technique matters a lot too. I usually alternate between using a triangular powder puff or a small dome-shaped brush. If I want long wear and less creasing, I will use a triangular powder puff, but I sacrifice moisture when I do that. My concealer will look a little drier. When I use a brush, my concealer doesn't look as dry, but it does crease more as the day goes on. So you have to choose which option you prefer because there's really just no perfect way. There just isn't. Concealer is the trickiest makeup thing ever. If you are completely opposed to dryness or you have very dry skin, you struggle with dry under eyes, and you choose to use a brush, which deposits less product, here is the key, okay? You wanna dip it lightly into the powder of your choice, then bounce it on the back of your hand to evenly distribute it before pressing it gently into the skin. Do not sweep or buff. That does not work under the eyes. The bristles will pick up the concealer and it will be a mess, trust me. Now, if you're wondering which powder actually performs the best under the eyes, I recently tested 8 viral powders in natural light, of course, with no filters, that are all known for being great for setting concealer under the eyes, and I ranked them from the worst all the way up to the best. If you want to know which ones came out on top, and trust me, you do, because it's actually pretty surprising, you'll have to watch that video next. I will link it right here for you, because this video is over.